Hey there, and welcome. I'm Anna Hartman, and this is Unreal Results, a podcast where I help you get better outcomes and gain the confidence that you can help anyone, even the most complex cases. Join me as I teach about the influence of the visceral organs and the nervous system on movement, pain, and injuries, all while shifting the paradigm of what whole body assessment and treatment really looks like. I'm glad you're here. Let's dive in. All right. And action.
Welcome back to another episode of Oh Yeah, dude.
Oh, goodness. Hello. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Unreal Results podcast. Special episode. I got a guest, some random dude I met on the street. I was bored. I thought maybe he'd want to film a podcast with me, but no. My guest and my athlete, Devon Allen.
What's up, guys?
Olympian in the 110 hurdles. Current Eagles player.
Current Eagles player.
Current Eagles
wide receiver.
Wide receiver. Yeah. So it was a while back ago. I asked on Instagram if people would want to hear from any of my athletes, and the resounding answer was yes. And so since I spend so much time with Devon, and he's a fun guy.
Fun guy.
I thought I'd bring him on the pod as my...
And we're here in the studio, a.k.a. my living room.
Yeah. It's my second guest ever. He was really bummed to not be the first, but...
Oh, yeah. Who'd you have on?
Lex.
Yeah.
Lex. She was great. But anyways, so still number one in my heart, though.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. The biggest question people had, well, there's three questions, and then we can talk about anything.
Okay.
Was, how do we start working together? What you've learned from me, and sort of like how it works, seeing as how
it works, whatever you do, the magic.
The magic, how the magic works.
Okay.
So, do you want to start?
Was that three or was that two?
Those are three questions.
Okay. Yeah. So, thanks for having me. For one, and the story on how we met was, I think it was 2016. Mm-hmm. Yep, 2016. Post Olympics, I returned back to college after the Olympic Games playing football, and my second or third game in versus Nebraska, I tore my ACL for the second time, my left knee. And so I had knee surgery. I was in Eugene doing rehab for the month of November. And then that year, I don't think we made a bowl game. We did not make a bowl game.
Sad news for the Ducks that year.
So we were, the season was over after December 1st. Yeah, the first week of December. And so we were allowed to go home and, have winter break for the first time in my life. And so I was going back to Phoenix, Arizona, where I'm from, and Steph, the athletic trainer I was doing my rehab with in Oregon, I told her, I was like, hey, I got like 4 weeks, I'm going to be on my own. I don't want to lose a lot of progress. I know how important the first 3 months are of knee rehab because I did my right knee the year before. I said, hey, I don't want to miss out on that, progress. Will you help me find someone or send me somewhere to do knee rehab? And she was, I had the perfect person for you. And she sent me to Anna, and Anna had been either just moved from Phoenix to San Diego or was in the process of moving.
Yeah. I'd moved.
Okay, yeah. So you still had an office in Phoenix?
I still had an office in Phoenix. When she reached out to me, she didn't say who it was, but I, as a Duck fan and alumni, knew. I was like, oh my gosh, somebody that had knee surgery that lives in Phoenix. I was like, that's Devon Allen. I was like,
that was me, yeah.
I was a big fan, big Devon Allen fan.
Big Ducks.
Yeah, big Duck fan. No, but I had just moved to San Diego to actually start working more with track and field athletes, and so I was like, isn't that funny? You tell the universe what you want, and then
perfect.
They hand. Yeah. You had just recently let the world know you were turning pro in track and field.
I did know that. Yeah.
And so when even though I wasn't living there, and it was my super busy season because it was football season, and I was traveling with 2 football players then, and then also had just gotten asked from an actual team to do a consult over the Christmas break. I was like, I don't want to miss this opportunity to, 1, start working more with the University of Oregon, and then 2, knowing it was probably you, I was like, yeah, sure, I can fit him in, no problem.
Yeah, okay, I didn't know that.
I didn't lie.
No, you just didn't.
I
tell me
hadn't
the story.
announced to people that I left Arizona, so I was like, oh yeah, sure, I'll make it work.
Yeah, okay, that makes more sense, because when you told me you were in San Diego, I was like, but now it makes sense with the other athletes who I know who they are, I'm not going to name them.
Yeah.
But, so you were going, that's why we were working
Weird day.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
Like hammering
Because I remember being like, hey, I can see you, but I'm like in and out of town.
Yeah.
Are you flexible? And you're like, yeah, sure,
not
no
doing
problem.
anything.
But I knew too, as soon as I worked on you, and as soon as you heard why I had to travel, like why I was in and out, you would be impressed and be like, yeah, sure, I'll do whatever you need. So,
Yeah, so we
I was right.
that does make sense why we were hammering like 3 days, maybe 4 days a week, where I was like, we were like going after it for like 2-3 hours, and I was like, geez, because we were doing one treatment, a little bit of treatment, some basic physical therapy stuff, and then like hammering the weights, strengthening, because it was like maybe 2.5 months, 3 months.
Yeah, you were week 10, I think.
Yeah, post surgery. Yeah. So yeah, we had just kind of like got into like all right, stop babying so much, let's move around.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was a good.
Yeah, but that's kind of a funny story because, yeah, I was like, oh, it's gonna be Devon Allen.
Oh yeah.
I'm no dummy.
Go Ducks. Yeah.
Go Ducks.
No, and it worked out. Knee feels great.
Yeah. So after that, obviously you went back to school, and then we stayed in touch. And when school was over, and you moved back to Phoenix, and like really was a pro, we connected, and whenever I was I would go back and forth with
Phoenix,
patients.
Yeah.
And I'd see you, and then you came out to San Diego for a little bit, and we worked together. That was in 2017, on and off.
2018.
Or sorry.
The 2018 season.
2018.
17 early, but then the 2018 track season, yeah.
And then when you moved to Maryland, kind of.
Well, really, just in Phoenix, I was like, I don't know what happened. I think there was like a big push with my training group, I think, to get like someone local that could work on everybody, which I'm sure if I would have asked like then, like, hey, the 1 day a week I'm seeing you, could you, that would have been kind of hard.
Yeah.
So we made a big push. And,
I was busy then.
Yeah.
I was super busy back
then.
then.
Trying to find an athletic trainer or physical therapist for the group. And so we ended up finding Adam. And so Adam started working with us. So when that happened, I was like, all right, well, I'll just do this. And so that was 2019. The 2019 season.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
And then 2020, like 2020 season leading up was when I decided, like February, March, I was moving to Maryland.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so then I drove across country.
I do
and
remember
it kind of
that.
just disappeared into my own abyss.
I was a little heartbroken. I was like, I guess he doesn't want to work with me anymore.
Well, I just didn't really think about logistics too much. I was just like, oh, she's in San Diego. That's crazy. And you were still working with your football players full time then too.
Yeah.
So would have been tough.
Anyways, but then we always kept in touch. I'd always text you every once in a while, check in, see how you feeling. If I heard that you were hurt, I would
or saw that I was
out,
hurt,
or saw that
if
you ran crappy.
You're like, oh.
But then we tried to connect right before you went to the Olympics in 2021, but that didn't work out. And then you reached out last year in March.
Yeah.
And then we've been inseparable since then.
Yeah, we did the tally last year. It was like 60 something days.
76 days last year.
76 days in 2022.
And 67 so far.
And 67 so far, and it's only been 6 months. So,
yeah. So when he reached out last year, he was in college. He was a 2-sport athlete. You were on the football team, and then you were a track athlete, obviously. And then when we first met, you told me that after the 2020 Olympics, you were gonna try for football. And I was like, yeah, everybody always has those things. And then in March 2022, when you were out helping Navy in San Diego, you reached out to see me again, and we reconnected, and that's when you said, hey, by the way, I've actually decided I'm going to do my pro day at Oregon and do the NFL thing. And I was like, what? I was super excited for you. And basically, I was like, this is perfect. Like, let's make sure you stay healthy. And like,
Let's lock it in.
yeah, and that was sort of too, like, going back to the math of how much time we've spent together over the last 2 years. The whole reason for that is because I basically told you, like, I'm all in because I don't think that many people can do it, but I believe that you can and will and be successful at it. And so for me, it was like worth the investment of my time and effort. And I basically told you that week, like, if you want me, I'm in, and you just have to commit to like being consistent with it and and being consistent, like seeing me every other week, if possible, throughout the track season to make sure that when training camp started, you were healthy and ready to go. And so that's sort of how it really evolved.
Evolved into more than that eventually, because it ended up being like pro day. You traveled with me to Eugene, and then I was around for Mount Sac, so then I came down. I came to San Diego right before I went, and then pin relays, you came out to Philly, so that was 2 weeks later, and you stayed around, and then...
Well, and I think, too, then as soon as we started hanging out and doing it more, we're like, we enjoyed each other's company, and it was fun.
Yeah.
And then also you started noticing, like, it was...
Feeling a lot better, and just
really
like,
helpful.
So, and then May went... I was doing OTAs, so trying to balance both those two things, and I was like, we talked about like being consistent and like keeping the machine rolling, and so we did that, and I got COVID, but then like a couple weeks after, I remember that was a funny thing. I got Anna was on her way to Maryland where I was training in Annapolis on a plane. I had woken up early that day because I was getting my car detailed, and maybe around 11.
Because everything has to be perfect for me. You have to detail your car.
Or 10 or 11 because you left at like 6 a.m. or
early.
7.
Those are early
so
flights.
you were like, hey, I'm about to get on the flight. I said, great. And that was like 10 or 11, and the guy was working on my car, and he was like, oh, it'll be a couple more hours. So I was like, okay, cool. It was hot in Philly. I wasn't doing anything on a Sunday, so I fell asleep. And when I woke up, I was feeling crazy. Like I was like achy, fever. And this is like the middle of the COVID pandemic too. Everybody was still wearing masks. And I was like, I should do a COVID test because I hadn't gotten COVID yet. And
neither of us had.
Yeah, so then I did.
You thought we were special.
Yeah, I did 2 tests, and I had COVID. And so I texted Anna. I was like, hey, are you on the plane? She was like, yeah, it's been
on the plane.
It's a 6-hour flight. Like, I haven't stopped yet. And I was like, well, I have COVID. So she was like, oh.
Yeah.
And so you stayed in a hotel. You brought me some soup and stuff. Brought me some food and snacks, and then hung out with your friend Daryl for a day, and then went back.
Yeah, that was funny.
And then the next week came back, and that was the New York meet of 2022, and I ran 12:84 that weekend.
Yeah.
And set the world on fire, and then went over to Europe, and then came back, prepping for USA's. Then we went up to Eugene for USA's, did that. That worked well. Like the whole logistics of it was interesting with the Airbnb and figuring all that out. And then we had 3 more weeks of training, and then did Worlds, and then you traveled with me there. And then after Worlds, it was like a week off.
Yeah.
And then right to training camp, and that was like every
4 days.
4 days. Yeah, I checked in, and then after I got released and signed back to the practice squad, it kind of turned into like every couple weeks because I wasn't necessarily playing. So but now it's track season again. I'm kind of spend like we're back every 10 days, like for 4 days or so.
Well, and it's been
travel.
even more this year because we had to, you guys had such a long season for football since you went to the Super Bowl. We were just behind the 8 ball a little bit and getting your body and your nervous system ready back for track.
Yeah, feeling good and be able to train multiple days.
Yeah. And then too, I got sick of traveling all the time, and I was like, I would rather just hang out with you for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks at a time instead of going back and forth.
Yeah.
So, with that said, that whole scenario, I think, you know, a lot of questions we get from people, you know, like when we're around our friends or other athletes is like, how does it work? Like, and you know, it is interesting because my shtick that I always tell is like how I know I'm successful is when an athlete doesn't need me all the time. And so it is funny because sometimes you feel like you're like, man, do I need you all the time? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I can't do anything without
Yeah,
you
I'm
now.
like, I'm good. Yeah,
Yeah.
but then I just, yeah.
But it's one of those things too that I think anybody like, you don't need me. I always tell you, like, you don't need me. You'd probably be fine without me and just doing the check-ins like we did last year or like less frequently. But once you start realize how nice it is to feel good for practice and training on a daily basis, you're like, why would you not want that if you had access to it?
For sure.
But even with that said, like, you know, we run into situations with your body where even though I want it to feel good every day, it still doesn't feel good every day because that's the life of an athlete, right? Yeah. And our philosophies really go together well because you know, I'm big about listening to the body, listening to your body, figuring out what you need, and like realizing the body knows best. And I think you and your coach, Jamie Cook, are really excellent about doing that with your training program as well, is like not pushing through things, like valuing rest and valuing days off as just important, if not more important than all the work you put in.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, I mean, the biggest like takeaway from my athletic career that I've gotten from like the last 5 years, even in track especially, was every year that I was mostly healthy or pretty healthy, I ran well.
Yeah.
You know, even if I didn't train that much or whatever. And then the years that I like trained super hard and trained for a long time and I was hurt, it would kind of like didn't run well. It didn't matter how much I trained, like how much preseason work I did. And so, you know, working with Jamie, he kind of understands like, you know, fitness is important, but also just being healthy and feeling good is, you know, me being healthy and feeling good is good enough.
Yeah.
Like I'm athlete enough to compete, you know, at a high level regardless of how much training I do. And that's kind of where we figured it out the last 3 years. And so I don't really have to do as much. You know, some of the training I do is
You do.
some of the training I do is very intense, but also some days it's kind of like the opposite because I'm like, oh, I don't feel great, you know. So like even today, like our training, I went to the track, warmed up, and I'm like, ooh, a little bit tight. Like I think I shouldn't do much because I'm trying to like, we're ramping up to USA's for next week too. It's only like 12 days away. Yeah. So it's not like
yeah, there's no need.
I'm not going to change the world in 12 days either. So I'd rather feel good going into USA's than like super, super sharp. And yeah, so just kind of that whole, like trust and even trust with you in terms of like listening to my body and understanding like kind of what you do is mostly through the nervous system, and the nervous system is kind of like telling you, hey, like I don't like this, or you know, whatever range of motion you're going in is not the right one, or your body's like protecting a certain range of motion because I don't know why it does it sometimes. Right, but
you know enough to know that it is for a reason.
Yeah, it's for a reason, and you seem to figure it out in terms of just like what's going on. You know, because most, you know, other than my ACL injuries and stuff like that, like any little small injury thing is usually not. It's not long lasting. Right. It's kind of like, ooh, and then it goes away. So you know, just trying to figure out like some chronic stuff that I have and like, you know, what causes that, you know, what movement patterns and what do I do in training every day that causes that. Yeah. And so we're starting to figure that out and like how my body responds to treatment, which is good too. It's like a little bit easier to kind of like, you know where to start a little bit better,
Yes.
as opposed to like going through the whole eval and then, you know, having to like try everything.
Yeah.
You can kind of like,
Yeah, I know what works well for
this
you.
usually works. Let's do it. Okay, that worked great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's good.
I know what works good for you, and then kind of in the same sense of training is like sometimes, especially when I'm around you a lot, you know, sometimes we just have to like realize that when we're doing treatment every day, manual therapy every day, like that's a little bit of us trying to force the body. And so sometimes it's just like, you know, like when we were in Europe, I was like, I think maybe we don't need to do treatment for a couple of days because we've been doing a lot, and maybe we just like let your body be.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's just, you know, it's a practice for all of us, is like checking our ego and not trying to override the body's own natural protection pattern, like to force it out of something that it's doing on purpose and for a good reason. So, and you've always been really good at like learning and taking things, you know, and that's the other thing too. Like part of the reason last year when you came to me of like, you know, with this plan was, and I wanted to be part of it, is because you also were like, oh, I've been watching all your videos. You were like my biggest fan on Instagram. You're like, oh, I saw this video and I've been doing it. Like, even though we hadn't worked together for a couple years, you were still doing stuff that I gave you in the past.
Yeah, I had like that little, like that roll, like that log. I was doing my put it under my big toe and doing like the
orange
ankle.
Yeah. What is that? I forget. The pelvic floor prop it was called. Yeah, so that's the other big thing too. You've always been a really good like active participant in your care. Like you'll do the stuff in your own body too. Like if I have exercises or drills for you to do, you always are all in, which is nice. So, so like a typical day for us when we're together, or what your life is like really, is we, you know, I'll check in. Every day I reevaluate you, see where your body is at, check your range of motions, check in with you how you're feeling, and then do whatever manual therapy or exercises are needed, and then we go to the track, and I like to watch you move.
Yeah.
I like to watch you move for two reasons. One, if we're dealing with any of the chronic stuff, it gives me some insight into what might be driving it. And then also because it's good for me to sort of read your body language and how you're really feeling, because like many athletes, you have a tendency to ignore what's below your neck sometimes and just be like, I'm fine, everything's fine.
Yeah.
And so it allows me a little bit better picture of like,
what's going on?
Yeah. Which is great.
Yeah, and I think that's partly football mentality too. Is like,
for sure.
I gotta practice.
It's every athlete's mentality.
I gotta practice anyways.
Yeah.
Like, but sometimes, especially in track and field, like when the goal is to be fast or very precise, and especially in the hurdles, like the technical part is very precise. You know, you can't really practice what you need to practice, like race pace or whatever, if you're not like in that 98, 99, 100% feeling. Yeah. So like sometimes it's just like, I'm not feeling it today.
Yeah.
Sometimes I force it because it's like, this is the day we have to get it in.
Right.
Or this is the day it's supposed to be, like in the plan, this is the day it's supposed to be. But like I said, usually now, like I don't force it as much. So I just like tell Jamie, hey, I can't.
Right.
I can't today. And he's like, all right, well, let's just, you know, just move around. Like even today I talked to him, he's like, well, go lift and make sure you know, get some stretches in and feel good, and talk to Anna, make sure she knows what's going on, and that you know, do what you need to do and get some rest, and you know.
Yeah, I probably take it harder than you do when you don't feel good.
Yeah, you definitely do. Yeah, I can feel that for sure. And I think, and like you said, sometimes when we even, you know, like when we're in Europe, trying to figure out how to like work day to day is like, you make a good point, because some days I just am tired.
Yeah.
And it's not even so much my body I'm having like issues. It's just like, I'm just kind of like, ugh.
I mean, and that's the benefit too of us working for so long. Like I get, like now I know what you, when you're when you're tired, I know how you act. I know what you complain about. And so sometimes when you complain, I'm like, he's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's just tired. which is like, I mean, that's the benefit of, I mean,
Consistency,
anybody
Just
knows, like having the same practitioner, massage therapist, whoever, like having that relationship long term is like so important. And I think, you know, all of my athletes who've ever been with me, so, you know, long term, and, you know, a lot of them, I've been with them their whole careers, and that's what they loved about it, is like, I knew their body, I knew them, I understood their body language, like, you know, I anticipated their needs pretty easily.
Well, and you can build that trust, and like, you know, in all instances, there's always like, if you can't figure it out today, you're gonna figure it out tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm gonna figure it out.
So,
and I'm not afraid to pull in other people to help.
Yeah, so that's the thing, is like, you know, as much as I have, you know, chronic stuff and, you know, stuff that feels great one day and then the next day I'm like, oh, you know, like, you're gonna figure it out eventually.
Yeah.
And then I was going on
quickly.
Quickly.
Eventually.
Yes.
But yes.
Yeah, making sure all the questions, and that was, what do you do? The basic gist, and I'm looking right into the camera right now. And if you're watching on YouTube or wherever, if you're listening on Spotify and Apple Music, you should feel my eyes and the static airway. But so the basic gist for me is the nervous system is, you know, kind of built into the body to protect it from hurting itself, or when you're in trauma, from hurting itself. So, you know, like if you're training hard and, you know, I'm trying to give a basic example. You do a heavy back squat and you're like, ugh, like your back feels like it tightened up.
How are you?
You feel like, yeah, right? You do a heavy squat, like, you know, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not exactly, but do a heavy squat and you tighten up, it's because your back, you know, your nervous system's like, oh, I'm going to hurt, you know, protecting the spinal column. Like, block all these muscles up around here, or like you're running and your calves get tight. It's because like your foot's going to maybe a wrong motor movement and it's trying to protect the tendons or whatever, the muscles. The nerves. So that's the basic of what I understand it. And with all the training and practice you've done, you can kind of feel that in the athlete's body, and that's with the listening. And, you know, that's kind of where you start in terms of, no, it's not kind of where you start, it is where you start in terms of treatment, and making sure the nervous system's cleared up so that when you do treatment, whether it's manual therapy or whatever, that treatment holds. Because, like I'm sure you talked about in the other podcast, if you don't fix the nervous system part, you're going to treat and you might feel better for a bit, but then it's going to go back to the old the pattern.
Right.
So yeah, it kind of frees you up and get you feeling good.
And makes it last.
Makes it last. And overall too, like it helps. For me, I've noticed a lot of like benefit in recovery.
Right.
And just like energy levels too. Like I said, some days when I'm just tired, I know it's because I'm really just worn out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but some days when I'm like kind of feeling like lethargic is because my nervous system's kind of like
has some tension.
All out of whack. So
then you feel better after treatment.
Yeah, exactly. Or the opposite, if we do like the
sometimes we can
the
make
cranial.
it too,
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends on what time of day it is. If it's before I go to bed,
and what we do after.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
I know every once in a while I get nervous, like if it's the day of a meet and your cranial stuff comes up, I'm like I feel like I need to I need to do something about it.
Yeah,
because it's creating tension. But I'm also like, I'm gonna put this guy to sleep. So not the best move before a competition.
Yeah.
How do you? I always like this one. How do you explain when your teammates or other athletes ask you what I do and like why you like working with me?
Yeah, I pretty much just regurgitate exactly what I said.
Just that.
Yeah, like I want to, some of the guys on the team that you worked with and work with now, I kind of explained that. It's like, hey, the body is going into like some kind of protective mechanism, depending on your injury or chronic injury. Usually is what those guys are complaining about because, a one-off thing that kind of like, comes and goes. You forget about it's the long-lasting hamstring soreness or the long-lasting back pain or neck pain or whatever, knee pain that the athletes kind of remember. And usually it's like a nervous system thing. Sometimes it could be imbalance, especially if you have surgery and stuff. And that's what I think the benefit of you being an athletic trainer as well is like, like you've seen all these injuries, you've rehabbed all these injuries too. Like the pattern on like, oh, so you did this.
Yeah.
This is probably bothering you now, or this is probably bothering you at one point, or this is how to fix it. And so, and
yeah, I mean, I think you do go in more in depth with your teammates than probably any of my other athletes ever had. Mm-hmm. Most of them are like, I don't know what she does. She's magic. My knee hurts. She sticks her finger in my ear, and then I feel better.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. Is like I do a lot of stuff around the facility, like our exercises, or even just like our, range of, I don't even know.
Nerve glides.
Yeah, nerve glides, and stuff like that. And I'll even give some of the athletes that are having chronic stuff that I, have dealt with, maybe a tight hamstring or whatever, and I tell them to go through a nerve glide, and they're like, ooh, why does that work? And I'm like, I don't know, but it works. And I felt the same thing you're feeling. So, and they're kind of like, okay, that makes sense. And I have a little bit of notoriety because I am the Olympic athlete on the team. Yeah, for sure. So like. And
they're always they're like, I don't know how you, especially during OTAs, because you were doing OTAs Monday through Thursday, and then
driving up to Annapolis for the weekend.
Other days, and they're exhausted from the OTAs.
Yeah, and I'm training 7 days a week. Yeah.
But yeah, they all go to Devon in the weight room or the locker room and like, hey, what would you do for?
Yeah, what is this? Why they always ask me why I use a softball?
Yes.
I'm just like, this is the actual explanation I do give because it's the easiest in my head. I'm like, all right, so you have
and softball for those of you listening, or not a softball like baseball softball, but like it's like a ball that is soft.
Yeah, softball. Yeah. It is like a ball filled with air.
The Franklin ball.
Franklin ball. Yeah. So when you push on it, it is soft and compresses. So when I explain that to them, I explain it. I usually do the feet thing because everybody wants to use lacrosse balls in their feet. Yes. And we use, I don't know what the other balls are called that you give me.
The tune-up fitness.
Tune-up fit,
the yoga therapy. It's called tune-up therapy ball, I guess,
Yeah, and these are smaller but also soft. Yeah. And so I'm like, hey.
They're still hard, but they're soft.
Yeah, much softer than a lacrosse ball or a golf ball. Like these guys roll their feet up. Yes. And I explained it to them, like for the foot, I'm like, hey, so your foot already, like feet and hands already have a lot of nerves and a lot of tension because you're on your feet all day. Yeah. Why would you beat it up more with like a hard ball? Yeah. Like, it hurts. It hurts, your body is already like saying, ouch, this hurts, so it's going to tighten up. Why would you keep doing it? Yeah. It's like getting punched in the stomach. You're going to like flex. Yeah. So.
During the season, football season, I had to bring you a lot of
balls. A lot of my teammates have those.
Yeah. Because I was like, you kept giving them away.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
And I'm like, dude, he's like, oh, my feet. I'm like, I get it because my feet are sore too. Football cleats are tough.
Yeah.
But also, stop beating your feet up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Anybody listening, just stop it.
Stop it.
Get some help. Stop it.
Stop it.
You gotta put that clip in Michael Jordan. if you can get in there but not copyright it. But yeah, so really just understanding how the body works and why things are sore or hurt sometimes. I mean, obviously there's the cases where there might be a legitimate injury, right? Like a muscle
for sure
tear or whatever, and then even that.
But I'm like, even that, when you treat it
Yeah.
in a way that you honor the body's processes, it doesn't have to take as long. Like,
for sure.
Like swelling doesn't have to linger, and muscles can be strained, but then fully function fine when you make the nerves around them happier. Mm-hmm. So, cool. Anything else you want to share with the people? Practitioners or athletes that will be listening to this?
I don't know, just...
Or you feel like I need to share with the people or the athletes?
No. Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs.
Oh, I am, out of all of Anna's athletes, the best chef.
Oh, 100%.
And coffee barista.
Yes. Devon's actually cracked my code. He's figured out that I will pretty much do anything for him because he brings me coffee as soon as I get out of bed, basically.
Yeah. Well, and then I make
anywhere, even whether whether I'm with you at your house or we're in hotels. Yeah. He always make sure that I have coffee, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
It's like a love language I didn't even know about.
For sure. And I think I love coffee so much that like I enjoy like someone that enjoys coffee too. Because not everybody likes coffee.
No.
So
that was like I'm a really cheap date in that sense. Like who you're like, how much does it cost for you to come work with me? And I'm like, can you just
bring me coffee
every morning?
Yeah.
And that's all it takes.
And the cooking's good, but around this time of year I get kind of like basic and locked in because I'm trying to.
But you're basic and locked in. It's still really good.
Yeah, it's still good. I still have to.
And it's like again, you're making it for me.
Yeah.
And so
that's fair.
That's all that matters. It's like when your mom makes the sandwich versus you make the.
Yeah, it always tastes way better. Yeah,
way better.
You're right.
Way
Mom,
better.
what'd you put on this? Turkey, pickles, lettuce, tomato, and salt and pepper.
Yeah.
Right.
So, that's it. I mean, we have fun together. We laugh a lot, and it's fun to support you.
It's great. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Shake and bake.
Go Ducks.
And
that's really what it's all about.
Yeah.
Ducks fly together. We gotta take care of each other.
Ducks fly together. Oh yeah, go birds too. Alex is in the back right here. Our producer.
Our producer. I suppose so. Go Birds. Sure.
No, definitely go Birds.
Everybody always asks like who my favorite football team is. I was like, whoever's got an athlete on it that's paying my bills. I mean,
barely.
Loyalty. Yeah, barely. One day.
And on that note.
And we're out. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week, and we'll work on our podcast name for our podcast together one day.
I thought this is your podcast. Oh, you're talking about the joint podcast?
Yeah, in the future.
Alrighty.
Back to the future. Thanks.
Back to the future. Good podcast name.
Great name. Thanks, Devon. Now I gotta edit it.